Every single one of the people in tonight's stories did what any normal person would do. They got in their car, they drove, and they trusted the road to take them home safely. None of them made it home the same way. Let's get into it. Story 1. The Road That Ended. I was on an unfamiliar, desolate highway, trying to make a last-minute drive across the states to get to my brother's remote home in northern Utah. I'd gotten the dates of some of our plans mixed up and kind of forced myself to drive through the night because of my mistake. The whole thing was a mess and had me tired and stressed out because of it. I did notice when my GPS told me to turn off the road that I'd been on for 100 miles. It wasn't until after I'd already missed the exit that I realized my mistake. There was nothing I could do but keep driving and find a place to turn around or wait for the GPS to reroute. After a minute, it was still stuck on the loading screen, so I figured I'd just have to turn around myself. It was unlikely this desolate area had any alternate routes anyway. Cut the ignition. I'm writing this just after getting back from a road trip while everything is still fresh. But as I kept driving, couldn't find anywhere to turn around. The road just kept going. So at one point, about a mile past the exit, I passed a car on the shoulder with its hazards on. Just an average black sedan. I assumed they were probably lost too, figuring out where to go. I slowed down a bit after passing, just to make sure I didn't miss a turnaround from there. The road very quickly merged into one lane and became significantly more narrow. The woods were closing in on both sides. It no longer felt like a highway. It felt like some forgotten continuation of a road that had been abandoned. Whatever it really was, I knew I should not be there, so I pulled over to think things through. My GPS was completely stuck. My phone wouldn't load anything either. I got out just to look around, on both sides. Dense, uninhabited forest. I couldn't even see the other side of the road in the opposite direction. It was just trees, which meant at some point the two sides had split off. I had no idea how far back that was, or how far ahead I'd have to go before they came back together. I really didn't like being there, surrounded by woods on a strange, vacant stretch of road. I thought for a moment about just driving back the wrong way, all the way to the exit, but it felt dangerous. I'd already driven a fairly long way down. I decided against it, thinking the roads ahead had to connect at some point. Best bet was to keep driving. Before I got back in the car, I looked back the way I'd come and saw a figure walking in the road. He was walking toward me, still far away. I thought it was probably the person from the hazard car, but it was strange that he'd left his vehicle and was walking in my direction. I got back in and kept driving. The road got rougher the further I went. Then, about a half mile from where I'd stopped, the road suddenly ended. A roadblock fence stretched across the pavement, blocking off what remained. I got out to get a better look, and from what I could tell, it didn't continue past that point. Maybe a gravel trail, but it was too dark to say. So when I saw it, it's a figure standing out by the tree line. I didn't even notice it at first. It wasn't until my eyes adjusted that I realized what I was looking at. It wasn't moving. It seemed to just be looking back at me. I took a few slow steps back toward my car, then literally jumped, and I came face to face with a man standing right behind me. It was the guy from the road. He had a short, dense beard and a buzz cat with a hood over his head. I'd never even heard him approaching. I stared at him, wide-eyed. "Road's closed," he said. "You can't get out this way, ma'am." I almost whispered, "Sorry." My fear was impossible to hide. His eyes shifted over my shoulder, toward the woods, then back to me. "You okay? You seem shaken up." He said it in a strangely friendly tone, almost like we were old buddies. I nodded and apologized again, said I thought I'd seen something out there, but that I was probably just tired. His face stiffened. He tilted his head down, almost forcing me to hold eye contact. "What is it you think you saw?" I realized my mistake the moment he said that, just from the deep, condescending tone, the way he asked. I stuttered nothing in a mumbled whisper, quickly opened my door, and got in. The man stayed where he was for a moment, then slowly approached my window as I started the car. I didn't stay long enough for anything else to happen. I backed out, did a fast 3-point turn, and floored it down the road. A few minutes later, I passed the car with the hazards on again, then the exit. Then I was gone. I don't know for sure what I ran into out there, but I have a really bad feeling about whatever was happening in those woods. And I know if I'd stayed, or if I told that man what I saw, I probably would have gotten answers, not in a good way. Story 2. He cut the ignition. I'm writing this just after getting back from a road trip during the holidays, while everything is still fresh. It wasn't a long trip, mostly a straight stretch of, and to make everything work with my schedule, driving home overnight was my only option. So the first several hours, from 7 p.m. to about midnight, were completely uneventful. By that point, I was the only car on the road. The whole highway looked identical for every mile, exhaustingly boring. Then, at some point around midnight, a single car's headlights appeared way down the road in the opposite direction. This highway was so long and straight that I spotted it 2 or 3 minutes before it actually passed me. I didn't pay much attention. It was just the only other thing out there. After it passed, I did a routine check of my mirrors and saw bright red brake lights. The car had noticeably slowed down, switched lanes, and then did a U-turn. There were no designated U-turn areas. The 2 sides of the highway were separated by a grassy ditch. This car drove down into the ditch, back up onto my side of the road, and started driving up behind me. I thought this person was insane, but I figured they must have really needed to turn around and waited for them to speed past. They did pick up speed, but once they got close to me, they slowed down, matched my speed, stayed right behind me. Minutes passed. The car didn't switch lanes. I got nervous. Then he started flickering his headlights, flashing his high beams, like he was trying to signal something. There was no one else around. We were the only 2 cars on the road, so I knew it was meant for me. And it wasn't just a couple of flashes, like warning about a speed trap. He kept doing it, for miles. I had no idea what he wanted. With his headlights and my mirrors in the darkness, I couldn't even get a description of the car. Then I passed a sign, rest area, 3 miles ahead. I figured this was my chance. Pull off somewhere, let this guy pass, move on. Even if it was empty, it feels safer. When I pulled off the exit, I immediately felt something was wrong. The ramp spiraled down and went under the highway through a kind of tunnel, and instead of 2 separate pull-offs on either side, there was one large shared area at the bottom of a hill, completely cut off from the road above. You couldn't see it. You couldn't even hear it. And the parking lot was completely empty. I checked my mirrors. No headlights behind me. I pulled into a spot near the building, and after a minute, with no sign of them, I finally exhaled. I was exhausted. I decided to go inside quickly. Bathrooms, maybe something from the vending machine to keep me awake. I was only in there for a minute or 2. The vending machine was out of service. As soon as I stepped outside, there was another car, parked 1 space away from mine. In an entirely empty lot. It was right next to me. Tinted windows. High beams still on. I walked slowly to my car, got in, put the keys in the ignition, and turned. Nothing. The car wouldn't even try to start. I dialed 911 immediately. I told the operator where I was, that I was stuck, that my car wouldn't start, that the car parked next to me had been following me. The woman on the line suddenly shifted. She started talking faster, asking for more details, like she'd heard something like this before. Pole Ellis were 10 minutes out. I still hadn't looked at the car beside me. Then, it slowly started to back out and repositioned directly behind mine, bumper to bumper, blocking me in. A door opened. A tall man in a dark winter jacket walked slowly up to my window. He didn't speak. He didn't try the door. He just stood there, hovering, staring in at me through the glass. After a minute, he slowly moved around my car, past the front, went around the other side, circled it several times, like he was looking for something. Then he walked back to his car, got in, drove away through the tunnel. 5 minutes later, a cop pulled in. He got my statement quickly and told me another officer was right behind him to help with the car. But what he said next stayed with me once he confirmed I was okay. He seemed more focused on chasing the guy down than anything else. It turned out the man had cut the ignition cable from my battery, which I didn't even know was something someone could do that easily. I was towed out safely and had it repaired in the morning. I called the station multiple times for updates, got nothing, but I keep coming back to one question. What did he actually want? He followed me for miles, flashed his lights, disabled my car, had me completely stranded in an isolated lot with no one around, and then just walked around my car and left. I don't have an answer. And honestly, Tana, that's the part that scares me most. Story 3. Gray cab, white doors. I'm a trucker for a local company out of Montana, deliver all throughout the states, but most of my routes run through the Midwest. No big highways go directly through us, so a lot of what I drive are long, barren back roads with very little traffic. Even other truckers are few and far between. This was a pretty standard night, heading through the usual states to a common supplier. I always had my CB radio set to channel 19, the universal line. Most truckers use it to check in with each other or just pass the time. But on my routes, it's usually dead quiet for the entire drive. At around 1 a.m., the radio started crackling. Faintly, I could hear a man talking, but it was too scratchy and muffled to make out. I switched it off and back on. Lost the signal. Thought nothing of it. The road stayed quiet for another stretch. No cars, no buildings, nothing. Then the radio came back, just crackling at first. Then the crackling got louder, almost obnoxious. And just before I reached over to kill it, a voice came through. Same man as before. He was in the middle of a sentence, listing off details, describing something in this flat, eerie monotone. Gray cab, white doors, white trailer, blank sides. That was the exact description of the semi I was driving. And at the end of that line, he said the direction I was heading. Then the voice cut out. The radio crackled. No response. No other voices. Nothing. I checked every mirror, scanned the road. There were no other vehicles near me in any direction. So how was anyone even within CB range? And who had a description of my truck that precise? I tried calling a buddy back at the warehouse just to tell someone. Call dropped. No service. For the next half hour, I couldn't shake it. I knew there was a gas station up ahead. Tank wasn't low, but I decided to stop anyway. Top off. Maybe ask the attendant if they'd heard anything unusual on the radio. The station was tiny, remote, and when I pulled in, it was obvious the inside was closed. Dark. I pulled up to a pump and started to fuel. Standing there in the silence, something started feeling off. Not just the usual unease of being alone in the middle of nowhere. More like I wasn't alone. I pulled the pump out early and got back in. As I started to pull out, I saw headlights coming down the road from the direction I had just come from. No, not headlights. The truck had no lights on. It was old, beat up, rusting, moving slow. Looked like it was about to turn into the gas station, but when it saw me pulling out, it stopped, right there in the road. Lights off, waiting. I got on the highway and drove. The uneasy feeling didn't leave. Something still felt wrong. A few minutes down the road, I came to a stop. There was a car in the middle of the road, partially sideways, and in front of it, a man waving his arms at me, walking quickly toward my truck like he needed help. His car looked undamaged. He didn't look hurt. There was nothing out here that could have forced him to stop like that. As he got close, I checked my mirror instinctively and barely made out a shape emerging from the darkness behind me. The truck from the gas station. I understood immediately. This was a trap. I pushed down on the gas, The man didn't move, committed enough or stupid enough not to jump. I nearly clipped him getting around. Somehow maneuvered into the other lane, cleared the car, maybe scraped the trailer against it slightly, and kept going. When I looked back, the truck had stopped by the man. 2 people. One of them looked like he was yelling at the other. I reported it to the police when I finally had service. The cars and men were gone by then, of course. It was that truck on the radio. Then he'd been tracking me for a while. Had someone in position ahead of me, coordinating a plan to get me to stop on an isolated stretch of road in the middle of the night. I'm just grateful I trusted my gut at that gas station and didn't stay any longer. One wrong call out there, and I probably wouldn't have made it home. 3 stories. 3 roads. 3 moments where the difference between going home and not came down to instinct. Lena left when a man's tone told her everything she needed to know. The anonymous driver called 911 before the man outside her window had the chance to do anything worse, and Zach trusted a feeling at a gas station that turned out to be right. If these stories leave you unsettled, good, that they should, 'cause the thing they all have in common isn't a monster or a ghost. It's human beings, patient, calculating, waiting. If you have a story of your own, a drive that went wrong, a road that didn't make sense, something you can't explain, drop it in the comments or reach out. The best ones will be in the next video. Stay safe and stay on the right road.